Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today I wanted to do another review on a Call of Dragons video that someone had sent me. This is, again, from Shinchi42. We'll have a link to the video in the description down below and or possibly pin comment. But this one is titled here, once it goes away, do you have $10,000 to play Call of Dragons? This was put out 9 days ago on February 9th, so a little bit more recent compared to the last one that we did. But I thought this was interesting, right? And again, if you guys have any videos that you'd like for me to react to, give my thoughts, my opinions, you know, I can always DM me, I can post that on my Discord, etc. So, we're going to go ahead and let this play and review.
Some people might think that I've already quit Call of Dragons, but actually I haven't. I'm still in DYB, and I'm still playing and fighting. I don't know what's going on now. I've reduced the amount of activity that I have. The biggest thing is that, man, this game, it slowly creeps up to you and it becomes so expensive. If you don't spend $10,000 or more, you can't be really hugely relevant. You know, you can play it as a free-to-play, but it is very, very difficult. I think you'll need to be in a very spending alliance before you can really become really strong and become good into the game. The biggest thing is, like, just think about it, like, how much is $10,000 in your currency? If you can put that much into the game, then yeah, go ahead and play the game. But if you're not going to spend $10,000 or more, you might as well look for a different game, because this thing, it creeps up on you. It slowly becomes more and more expensive. Honestly, $10,000 is like understatement, because you'll have to spend more after you spend $10,000. You'll have to spend more and more and more and more in the future, because it doesn't stop from getting T5. You know, you'll have to get like new heroes, work on your pets, and it's going to cost a lot more into the game if you want to progress fast and get stronger. The biggest thing in here is that what I like is the
Okay, I'm going to pause it there for a sec because he's about to get into a new point. So let me just first and foremost state that you don't have to spend anything in order to be relevant. Relevance, let's define relevance first and foremost, right? So we can kind of go foundation building and then add some pillars. Being relevant in a kingdom builder game, whether that's Call of Dragons, Rise of Kingdoms, State of Survival, Lords Mobile, etc., right? And bear in mind, each of these games will have, you know, some slight variances on what they would define as relevant. So I'm going to kind of give you a general common denominator across the genre, is that you need to essentially get to kind of a max level, right? Think of it, the example I typically always give people is you look at a game like World of Warcraft, right? Where what's the one thing that I'm sure most people have probably heard, and I know I did right before I started, and again, I haven't played a while, let me state that. But one of the things I've always been told by friends or people that have said, hey boss, you should go and check it out, is that you just need to focus on getting to max level, and then more of the game will open up to you. And I very much feel that in Kingdom Builders, that is a pretty consistent or pretty similar sentiment that you can bring over and say, well, in order for you to really enjoy more of the game, you need to basically be max building level, max tech, right? Either max T4, which is essentially where you have everything done prior to researching T5, right? Where researching T5 is the very next thing that you can do for each of them, or getting to T5, right? And again, some people will have their viewpoints. If I was just to play the conservative role, I would just say get to T5 and have max buildings, have max tech, and be at T5, right? Then the game will start to open up more for you. Now, yeah, you still have to worry about getting like VIP. You still have to do things like maxing heroes, maxing artifacts. Obviously, there's other add-ons / accessories that you'll have to level up. But at its core, that's really what we're talking about. And so being relevant is just a matter of time. You're either spending money to get there faster, or you're doing it the free-to-play route, which is going to take longer. But you'll still get there. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take you. And I think that's really what we define as being relevant. Now, when it comes to having to spend $10,000 to do that, really, like I said, you're spending that to get there faster. It's not a requirement. It's not needed. It's just a matter of, do you want to be relevant sooner, or will you be relevant later? And I think that would have been, a more well-rounded way of putting that. But I understand where Shinchi's coming from. Talking about free-to-play not necessarily being relevant, needing to kind of spend more even after you get to T5. I mean, again, you can spend if you want to choose to spend more at that point or not. But you know, keep in mind, you know, there are, I would argue, more free-to-play friendly mechanics that are in COD versus other kingdom builders that I have seen / I have played and I have experienced, just from the one standpoint of having true ranged, right? Where you don't have to go into a mosh pit, right? You can play an archer, you can play a mage. I mean, probably more so mage is friendly, but basically playing a unit that has a very far range, which is the farthest range that you have in Call of Dragons, where you have a lot more adaptability, you have a little bit more fluidity on how you can engage and disengage, because you don't actually have to be there mosh pitting in the fight. So it means that typically as a free-to-play, you have a higher percentage chance of lasting longer in a battle, meaning you can sustain for more, even though, again, you may not be able to fight for as long, you'll at least be able to get more out of that particular unit than you would out of something like a cav or an infantry, even an archer to a lesser degree as well. So yeah, again, just wanted to touch on that part. Let's continue.
Troops where you don't really get deaths because of the hospital system. I think that is pretty cool, and the range system is really good. But overall, the game is a huge spending, and you are going to end up spending a lot more. I thought initially, I'm like, oh wow, this game it's not gonna be as expensive as it is going to be. But man, when they dropped the pet system in here, I just saw like totally a different approach into the game, to where like, wow, this is a whole new level of approach into spending and trying to, you know, build up the skills of the war pets. Super expensive. You can spend like easily $5,000, you know, in the pets, like trying to fix your pets. So easy to spend it. It's like, man, it's like a slot machine almost. Like, man, if you think about it, it's like legal gambling pretty much on some of the things that we do here in these type of games in here. But I think the biggest thing that is fun about this is that, hey, play this casually. You don't have to spend.
Okay, so let me touch on that part there, right, where he talks about the things that he likes. I think agreed, right? When you talk about the fact that you have free healing that you get, I believe that can max out at 2 million per day is the peak. But again, that's still a decent amount when you compare that to some other kingdom builders that may or may not have free healing in it, on top of the resource healing that you also get. The range play that he mentioned, as we had indicated already before, or alluded to before, and then now talking about the pets. The pets, I will say this though, right, and I don't know how much Shinchi has kept up with the pets. In the beginning, when pets were introduced, I would argue very much the case, right, where, and again, I'm not going to commit to a specific amount, but it really felt like it was almost kind of a slot machine, so I get where he's coming from with that. However, there have been some significant changes on what has happened, because in the beginning, the way that the skills worked is that you would place a skill on your pet. If you acquire another skill, or you want to place a second skill on the pet, let's say you have 6 slots, right? 6 slots. You have the first skill, and you want to place a second skill. The challenge is that when you go to place the second skill, it can replace the first skill, right? It has a chance to replace it, and so that was the problem, is that it wasn't minimizing. Or close. I'll be right there. Close. I'll be right there. And so the challenge there is that it wasn't removing the. Close the door. If you're going to come in or out, close the door. So it wasn't removing the actual slot that already had a skill there. So basically, and I'll say, let me give you an example. If you had 5 slots, right, you have a 20% chance, right, that it could go into any of them. Then what would happen is that if a skill was already there, you would assume, okay, now there's 1 in 4 chances to fill in one of the other 4 slots, right? So 25% chance. And I'm very much giving you an oversimplification. And so the problem the challenge was that when a slot was occupied with a skill, it would still be a 1 in 5 chance. And that was rubbing people the wrong way, because it wasn't allowing. And then if you put 2 skills in there, right, and let's say you were lucky to get 2 or 3 skills filled out, you could, on your second, third, or fourth skill that you're trying to place, it could still replace one of the other ones, and you'd have no way of getting around that. So now, obviously, that's been fixed. So it doesn't do that anymore. It works essentially as you would hope for it to work, right? Where you can select and choose which slots you want the skills to be placed on, along with replay. So the system has improved over a period of time, and this is because of feedback. So like I said, I don't know if Shinchi knows that, and maybe he refers to it later on in the video. We'll see.
Like, if you play it, maybe once you spend to a certain amount, like once you've reached T5, like to where I have, then, you know, cut down significantly on your spending. Just you know, casually cruise through and play it and just have some fun, you know? But you don't have to be like super into the competitiveness onto wailing out and spending. Man, I'm telling you, 5 years experience in these type of games, after a certain period of time, it doesn't even matter. Like, yeah, you guys can just spend like you know, a lot of money in the game, become super powerful, you become relevant in the game, in your kingdom or in your server, I mean, and then, you know, people get to know who you are because you're relevant, because you're strong. But after a few years from that, man, I'm telling you, everything doesn't matter. That excitement, that euphoria that you are going to feel in the first few months, it will dissipate if you don't keep on spending. Like, it will dissipate. So you know, when you play like 5 years, let's say you spend like $100,000 in 5 years and so on, it will dissipate that feeling. You know, it's not going to be there forever. I would say, you know, get to your T5. I'm sure not everyone's going to do what I say anyway, but, you know, for those who are going to be smart enough, you know, get to your T5 if you want to spend money into the game, and then just casually play it. Don't spend way too much more money into the game. And, you know, make some friends, and, you know, instead of spending money.
Okay, wanted to pause here for a sec. So, as someone, and I'll tell you this, as someone who's a light spender, right? I'm talking basically going in, buying the dailies, doing the 2 monthly bundles, aside from the first purchase, like the one that gets you the builder in the very beginning. I think for about the, oh yeah, and then the, what was it, the supply thing as well. Sweetie, can you close the door for me, please, or push it? And then the supply, I'm forgetting, I think it's like the, not the gem supply, but it's the one where as you go up in castle or city hall level, right, you end up getting more gems. Mia, close the door. And so as doing that, right, where you have maybe 2 or 3 kind of one-time purchases, but then you're just consistently doing dailies and the 2 monthly bundles, which the dailies I think was like $3, and then the monthlies I believe is 5. I think it was 5 and 10. So you're doing 15 a month plus 3, and then if you do 3 times 30, that's 90, right? So you're thinking 90. Really, that's the one that you're consistently doing after the one times. So 90 a month, I don't think that's. I mean, again, if you're budgeting that, let me be specific here. If you're budgeting that and you have a budget to do 90 a month, where you're doing the dailies and the monthlies, that's really all you need to do. Like, realistically, I can tell you as someone who was doing that, if I was doing that from day one on my account, and again, I'm just talking for the people that have a budget to spend, not for the free to play. And this is specifically in comparison to doing the 10K investment. You can do that over the course of, I would argue, a year, and you can probably get to, and again, I'd have to test this because I haven't done it myself, but I can tell you from where I left off when I was consistently doing that every day and then every month for the dailies and the monthly packages as well, and those are the ones where you basically, you spend the $5 or $10 for the month and you get a certain amount of gems and some resources each day, and it just accumulates to a 30-day. Doing that, if I kept that up, I probably would already have all my buildings at 25. And on top of that, I probably would be a lot closer to T5 than I am now. And I think that's enough. I mean, you think about $90 a month, you do that for a year times, I think I did 10, what is that, 900 plus 180, so it's 1,080, right? You think you're putting $1,000 and 80, or about 1,100 for the year into the game. And again, I'm, like I said, I understand that's a lot when you put it into context for the year. It's not necessarily if you're thinking about it as a month-to-month basis, but it is something that I can tell you, if I kept that up from day one, like I said, I'd be in a better position with the account if I wanted to spend to get to that point. I've also played my free-to-play account on Rise of Kingdoms for 2+ years. And I ended up not spending anything. After 2 years, I think I ended up spending like $20, and that was it. And that was just on that, whatever that supply thing was, where you'd get the gems based on your castle or your city levels. So let's continue.
Into the game, go and invest it in something else, right? There's other options where you can invest and actually, you know, have a potential more return in the long-term future. Because anything that you do spend in here, yes, it is a game, it is casual, it's your hobby, but at the end of the day, it is going to become like, man, you're gonna look into your account like, man, did I just really spend all this in here and then never see it again? Because if you try to like maybe sell your account, yeah, you may get something, but it is not going to be like what you have spent. Not even close. Maybe 25% only of the value of what you have spent into the game. Just imagine, right? You gotta buy all these daily bundles, and you gotta buy more speed ups, for your progress in here to get your T5, right? And then eventually after that, you'll need to make some troops so that you can win in the game. But honestly, in this game, you don't have to have significant amount of troops. You don't need like so many, like 1 million each is probably enough. you know, at least 1 million mage is enough to last you for a whole season in here, and then you just gotta play it smart, pace things through. Honestly, I still enjoyed this one. I still go into combat. I have like 1.3 million merits. I've just been casually playing it, and the thing here is that it's also relaxing to just like go in and get into battle and get into the warfare. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna still make, you know, videos once in a while in here whenever.
Okay, I wanted to pause this on the thing where he talked about the kind of minimum units that you need per tier. I think he ended up saying at the end there was about 1 million per each. I think more or less that is okay. The challenge is that, you know, typically in a game like this where you have free healing, sure, could you last on that for a season where you have, you know, 5 million troops, 1 million of each, and you're, you know, if you're kind of going role focused where you're saying, hey, I'm going to do 5 marches of each type, or if you want to like do a 1 by 1 by 1, right, and you kind of want to do an all round or a full mix, and then you send those out, right? You think about with the caps now being at 360, or sorry, 300, and you know that's where or sorry, I think it's just 360 now that I'm getting my faces or mine mixed up here. But right, you have that minimum cap, or for the Legion cap, right? So you have 1 million. Really, what you need is 1.8, right? So you need 1.8 million technically of each if you want to have 5 full marches. So you would need more than that, right? So I think it's more accurate to say you need 1.8 million compared to 1 million of each. You need 1.8 million of each. And again, like I said, I don't know, you know, I don't know how much Shinchi looks at the patch notes and looks at that. So I think his general overview of saying 1 million of each, that's 5 mil, right? If you think about 1.8 mil per legion, that puts you at about 5.4, right? If you want to do 5 legions of it, right? So at that point, you're getting a little more than 2.5. It's still not bad overall. The challenge is that you could send all of those legions out, and you could run through, you know, 5 million troops in 30 to 60 minutes, right? Depending on how fast you're going. And then at that point, now it's okay. Everyone's in the hospital. I got a 2 mil heal per day. So that means I'm probably going to wait 2.5, 3 days. But that's only, again, if you have enough troops to hit the free cap. Right, so you have to, I can't remember if you got to be over 150 or 200 mil or something like that, based on the amount of troops that you have total in order for it to scale to hit 2 mil. Otherwise, you have to rely on resource healing. So if you're not already at that high threshold, which again, in this case, most people probably wouldn't be, right? In this game, that's really more of like the Nephistos, the Jason Gees, the Southern Northern Lights, right, etc. Right, so, you know, those people that are already at the top. Even Toxic, I think he recently had hit 300 mil over there in PTW. So, you know, you have certain players that have to hit a high threshold. Otherwise, you're having to rely more so on the resource healing outside of however high you have the free healing. Unless you don't want a resource, and then at that point, you're just going to end up waiting longer. So if you have 5 million troops, you're not at that high threshold, but you're somewhere below, and you're thinking about how much fighting you're going to do, it's probably going to be about that amount of time for those 5 million troops if you're sending them out consistently for the battles. And then it's a matter of waiting for the free healing to kick in, waiting for the resource healing, depending on how much you want to spend. And it could be anywhere from, you know, 4 to 7 days, right, give or take. And maybe that's a low estimate before you're able to have all of those troops healed back up, and then you can get back in the fight. But if you're breaking out in a war in the final zone, 4 to 7 days, I mean, it could be over at that point, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't get back in sooner. You could probably get 5 marches, right, probably back within a day or two. But I'm talking if you're trying to heal fully and all the way up, and again, that's excluding the fact if you have resources and speed ups to do more training at that point, right, in combination with the healing. So it's one of those things where, you know, you always want to keep training troops. I don't think that there's a max you should really be aiming for. I think the fact is that CoD is one of the unique games that you actually scale better the more troops that you train. So I would argue the opposite, is that you want to keep training if you can get to millions of troops per tier, tens of millions of troops per tier, right? You always want to keep training because you, as you scale, as you get up in power, the free healing will scale better in your favor. So it's really more to your benefit to keep going. I would never say, hey, there should be a stop point. If you could have 1 billion of each troops, you should. Let's continue.
I feel like recording some of our battles. I think the history of this server right now on this situation that we're in is that the DYB alliance, I think we were losing, and I think we have made some sort of deal. I think so. I think this battle right now is a friendly war. I don't know. I think it's a friendly battle. Maybe it's kill event or no. No, it's not. So I think it's more of a friendly war though. But I do enjoy the battles. I think that's kind of nice. And the leadership in DYB is pretty cool. Like I've told like Danny and Tuki that I'm like kind of taking a little bit of a break right now, and they were cool with it. I wasn't as active as I was like in the previous game. So sorry, in the previous season. They were pretty cool about it. But yeah, I mean, I still enjoy the game. I am completely not spending any more. I think I still have some bundles in here, the monthly packs maybe. Oh no, done. I'm not even spending on the monthly packs. Like this thing is gonna, drain you out. I'm already reached VIP 15, so I don't need to spend any further into the game. So I've got 50,000 gems. This is from people that are spending in the Alliance. There's a lot of spenders in the Alliance, but I think eventually, if you hear my message, man, at one point you're gonna regret how much you have spent in these type of games. Like I said, I've been doing it for 5 years, and this game, I think 1 year I've spent less than 15,000 maybe US dollars, and I don't want to spend any more, because as the game progresses, the game will implement more mechanism that will allow you to spend more into the game. Like this war pets was kind of the draw that kind of like, man, what? Like out of nowhere they put in war pets like crazy. I mean, the gears in this game, the artifacts, is already a very high spending game. I don't even have the best artifacts in here. Like this is only like rank. I forgot what rank this is. Rank 1 maybe. So it's not like something crazy, right? I couldn't even justify spending into the artifacts when I first started this game. The only thing that I was able to justify to spend is trying to reach T5. But whether you like what I say or not, it is really up to you guys. But at the end of the day, I think the game is good. The game is fun, but play it casually. So I really...
Okay, so commenting here on this one, I think this is just a matter of you being willing to spend what you're comfortable spending, like with anything, right? You budget it out, understanding that whatever you're spending, right, you have that on the side. You're not necessarily, over investing if you don't have to, but it's really more about doing your research, figuring out how to optimize the best spending route, and then at that point, utilizing and having a budget that is set up, right? So that way you can make what I would argue kind of good ROI, right? Good return on investment for what you're putting in, and also being something that you're willing to kind of lose, right? Or to invest in, depending on how you want to view it. So really, I just think that's all it comes down to, is just, being comfortable with what you're willing to spend at that point. I'm kind of close. And so anyways, with that in mind, I think on top of that, right, when it comes to the other kind of aspects on, like anything, right? I just think it's a matter of understanding the genre itself and how it works if you're a free-to-play or you're a spender, because this is just how it's been for a while. Now, on the topic of artifacts that he touched on, very similarly, right? I think once you're hitting those minimum thresholds of your T5 and you're getting your max buildings, your max research, you are then leading to kind of consistently work on... I mean, thankfully, they've updated artifacts, so those things aren't being constantly reset. Things like pets as well. I think overall, right, the way that I would really like for things like artifacts to work, just like heroes, and this is something that I don't even know a game that does this in the genre yet, based on ones I've played. But for me, I think the biggest thing is, if you're going to introduce something as an artifact, if you're going to introduce something as a hero, and let's say it's paywall gated or it's spend gated, right, and it only comes out in particular events, so you can only use gems or something like that for it, my view is that should come out for a period of time, and then after that, it should go to the tavern, right? Which the tavern is basically where you can pull gold chests, you can use your times 10 pulls on artifacts, and you should end up having more of the paywall ones that go to the free. So that way, even if you want to introduce these for the first few months or for a season and say, okay, we're introducing these so spenders can kind of get them first, but then we're going to allow everyone to get them out after a period of time, that's really the way that it should work. Compared to how it works now, where those things continuously stay paywall gated. I think you'd actually have a better, well-rounded game. I think the game would be a lot more free-to-play friendly in that way, and you don't, and you're not separating and kind of putting people all the way up here and then having people that are down here.
Really enjoyed this one, so I still enjoy it. I mean, I guess I should say that. I enjoy playing with my mage. I hope they will release more mage. I think they have person mage. Oh, I don't know, whenever I see in the spin for this one to working on Ferrandil in here. But yeah, I'm just gonna try to play this as a free to play. See, he's asking if I'm playing to promote the game. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, you know, let's be more aware. You know, I'm just the same as you guys, same people as you guys. We're the same. You know, I enjoy gaming. But for the channel, I'm still thinking of something to really go hard into play. I've already got T5 and I can wreck other players. I think I have a pretty decent playing style in the game. Hero, I probably will get the new hero since it's going to be spin, because a lot of the battles in here are open field anyway. That mage could be potentially be good for like the roots of much into the game, man. Like it's unbelievable. Like you spend, let's say, $5,000-$6,000, you know, in a span of like 3 to 4 months, man. After that, you'll still have to spend a lot more. So just keep that in mind. Bundles on the credit card, and then it just stacks up and adds up. Game, then I would say, yeah, don't spend a whole lot of money. Income, I think.
Okay, I think the trend for the remainder of the video is pretty consistent. Based on the title, and I think what we said in the beginning, along with the past couple minutes of us just doing some skip previewing there, is it kind of goes more into that. I'm not sure if there's really going to be any more feedback, just based on kind of the consistency that we saw there. So if there ends up being, that's it. Again, maybe I'll review the rest later, but like I feel like that for the most part is really the direction it's going. And anyway, so yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, I thought this was a nice video to take a look at, talking about a few of the points, and I think most of it is kind of just difference of opinion, but I like to believe that, you know, there's a place for everyone, regardless if you're free to play, low, mid, or high spend. It's just all about setting realistic expectations. So with that in mind, let me know what you guys think on this one. That's going to do it for me as always. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.